So I'm here with Michael O'Connor, who's the VP of Operations, Yield and Analytics at AOL On. Nice to meet you, Michael.
You too.
It's a pleasure to have you. So you guys got a lot of content. You got a large audience, a lot of impressions. You got a couple interesting anchors like the HuffPo. What's working?
So we're actually seeing, you brought up content before. Content's actually working. So you asked who's going to invest in content. So obviously we're one. We made a big announcement with 15 shows of originals that we launched at the NewFront. And our first one, Nicole's actually working great. So Candidly Nicole's done an average of 1 million per episode. And I think what we're finding is working is content that speaks in an authentic voice sort of to a digital audience, right? For us, we do a lot with premium publishing or premium content partners where we distribute across and it works well. But what we find where we see a lot of effectiveness is when there's something uniquely digital about it. So for Nicole's a great example. She sort of brings her Twitter followers, she brings herself in, and I think there's a uniqueness to that experience that's sort of one of those areas where digital can actually bring something new sort of to that content conversation. We see it with HuffPost Live. We're doubling down on that with the AOL Live announcements we've made and the PAL announcement.
But HuffPo Live, I mean, that's not really about creating original content. That's about smart syndication or ingestion of content.
No, I think
and
it's
serving
both.
Up, right?
I think it's really about trying to generate content in a way that's organic and original to the web itself, right? So one of the things that we get the most feedback about and the most engagement is actually the green room feature of HuffPost Live, where you can sort of engage in the conversation via Twitter or via Facebook with the folks that are waiting to get on. And as you've seen with sort of whether it's the Snoop episode or whatever, there's a unique element where there's a different approach when someone comes on there as opposed to a linear talk show format.
So you use the number 1 million as a sort of successful measure of audience per episode, right? I suspect that if Peter delivered that number on one of his primetime shows, that might fall short of expectations as far as delivery of the conversations he had coming out of the upfront. So the economics are very different, obviously. How does that fit into? I mean, your business challenge is aggregating and be able to deliver against a larger audience, right? But how do you also on the side of not just sale, but on content creation, aggregate the dollars to create an online content economy that really can fuel what the demand is on the backside?
Sure. So
if you're doing both, right?
Yeah. So what we think is sort of important there, and I think Donnie hit this really well when he talked about price of it. You got to be able to offer across, right? So someone buying Peter isn't just buying Peter. They're buying into cable, they're buying into digital, they're buying into their mix. What our strategy we're trying to do is sort of offer that entire mix, not the whole budget, but offer that mix element all within AOL On, right? We want to offer a premium original, we want to offer it on an owned and operated, we want to offer a network extension, and we want to offer, if you want to chase just the metric and you're less content focused, we want to offer that ability sort of into an exchange or into a network. But we anchor off of original content and premium content because we think both what we're creating and our partners are creating is value, and ultimately users come online to consume content. It comes back to sort of the premium question you asked earlier. Most people would not, a traditional buyer would not say Angry Birds is premium content, but if you look at an engagement metric, there's nothing in almost any other media metric that's going to match that. So I think for us, where we look to drive value is sort of in that blend, because it's in that blend that you enable a marketer to extract different value from different pieces that they're running against. But what we think doesn't work for digital is trying to exactly replicate the TV model of buy against a show, package the show. It works very well for TV because the user pattern of how someone engages there is very different than how they're engaging with us. They may pick us up on a smartphone, they may pick us up on a tablet, they may pick us up while they're picking up something from Peter. So it's a little bit different for us. So for us, the value prop is working across, and that's where an OCR or a VC offers that sort of safety across that. If you want that common metric, you can pick up that common metric.
But it's interesting you say that, because isn't that exactly why you guys launched, why you're now participating in the NewFronts, is because selling it up front is kind of what you're aspiring to do, is to be able to pull that inventory through as much as you can on the front part of the year?
Part of it is simply, if you want any access to those dollars, decisions are made up front. So some of that is, yes, of course it's an attempt to pull in, and some of that is if you even want to be in the conversation, you have to organize around the calendar, at least historically, and we'll see if that changes to your point earlier coming out of this year. You had to be ready in the conversation in April and May just to even be in the conversation. But for us, we announced some deals that came out of that, and a lot of those haven't even started. Some will tie with TV upfront, some are with digital agencies, and will start in the beginning of the year when their fiscal calendar kicks in. So for us, the timing was partially that. I'm not going to lie. Part of it is, but it was driven more by that's when allocations occur and less by just an attempt to lock purely in up front. Because we think the beauty of digital is you're not tied to a release calendar in the same way.
So, I mean, just kind of following this logic, just random question. We talk about, you've got a lot of major broadcasters sort of investing in digital-only content, right? Mm-hmm. They're kind of diversifying. And why aren't you guys delivering a 10-foot experience? I know you have apps, all right, but I'm not talking about apps on TV or over the top.
Yep.
I'm talking about AOL standing up a cable channel. Like, why is standing up a network and actually using sort of copper to distribute your content not in the consideration set?
So it is. We did the deal with Mark Cuban at the Upfront with putting Huffington Post live on, which I know is not fully standing up.
Right.
And we're starting to move in. You saw we've done Makers with PBS, which was a joint production and that originated on TV. We're doing stuff with Speed Network and our auto channel. I mean, look, the reality of fully standing up a network is also there's a barrier to entry into that market, and there's also there's a subscription play, and there's a bunch of other pieces. But it's definitely areas where, if that's where the path leads, we're not uncomfortable going there. But it's not really the focus now because, again, we don't see it as a direct competition with TV. I don't think there's a user who consumes Modern Family could play Angry Birds, could watch Nicole. Like, they're going to consume across the spectrum. We want to be in that spectrum, but I don't think we have to own across the whole spectrum. We see it as everyone can be sort of a complementary part of that mix with each other as well.